One of the top guards in the class of 2026 has scheduled three visits to three big dogs, might I add. Uh, I don't want to butcher this, but I'm pretty sure it's Ike Alozie. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Riley, do you know for sure?
That was like a A minus. You know what? I'm not even gonna be a hard grader today. That's an A pronunciation on your
I
part.
was gonna say, little peek behind the curtain too. This is our first video of the morning, and me coming out and pulling that out, maybe a sign of a good day here. But the top 20 guard, like I stated, has narrowed his recruitment to eight schools, right? Alabama, Houston, Kansas, Gonzaga, Louisville, Kentucky, Arizona, and Washington. But the schools that I want to talk about are ones that he has official visits currently scheduled for. One being Alabama, coming up soon, September 16th, Kansas on October 16th, and Houston on October 23rd. So he has locked in those three official visits. No word yet on if he's going to schedule some visits to some other schools, but a little bit about his game: 6'2", 185. I think an elite defender at the point guard position. The offense is also there, but I think he really makes his money as a two-way kind of point guard, classic floor general type guard, but I don't want to put him in that box. He is a guy who I think could also, put it on your head and score the basketball if needed. But Riley, I'll throw it to you for some comments about his game first off, and then also this list of visits set up because I mean, when you see Bama, Kansas, Houston in a string of visits, that's nothing to balk at.
Yeah, for sure. I think the point of attack defense is what gets him on the court immediately. 6'6" wingspan, good build, top level athlete for the position, and he's a really good rebounder as well. And the offense, I think, is still a ways away, aside from like you can get downhill, get into the paint, finish around the rim. Good passer, but the jumper, I think, needs some work. That needs some tweaks, whether mechanically or even just getting more confident with it. But I would even say, though, like the upside here offensively and the optimist view would be, when he gets in the paint, it's not like he's just strictly put my head down, get fouled, rely on my athleticism and size. Like he's really crafty with the ball in his hands, has a good array of counters that he can get to in order to get shots off inside the paint. But I still think when you look at his game as a whole, whether it's the defense, the size, the physicality, and the rebounding, I will emphasize that again. To me, I'm like, this feels like a Kelvin Sampson guard to a T. And even if I was him, I'd probably be watching closely how they use Kingston Flemings this upcoming season. I know I've only seen this on like Twitter rumors and people in the comments of our videos on Houston that we did that Flemings has been getting a lot of buzz and might even start for them despite how that could sacrifice some size along the 1 through 3 if you're playing, Emmanuel Sharp at the wing. But if they can get someone like Flemings going and I would say take his offense to the next level, which, I trust that. I trust Sampson's system. I trust his staff's development. But that to me would be what I look at closely if I'm a Lozier.
Yeah, when you look at this list of schools, obviously there's some more on the list. You have, like I stated, you have Gonzaga, Louisville, Kentucky, Arizona, Washington on there as well. But there's some kids that we go through this recruiting process and we go through their game, and the fit just makes sense. He couldn't be more of a Houston guy. Truthfully, couldn't be more of a Houston guy. I just think that, his ability to defend at a very high level, he's also physically ready, which I think is something that is, I think, good for when you're recruiting out of this class, especially in a day and age where a lot of these guys are recruiting on potential. And I say this as a positive for him. He kind of is what he is right now. Like I think he's physically ready. I think he has the wingspan. And I think he's a guy who you project could be in school for a couple years. Like you don't have to worry about him being a one and done. I'm glad you brought it up, Riley. To be 6'2", an average, I think it was, well, let me see, 6.3 rebounds a game in EYBL play. Like that's extremely impressive. Now, negative assist to turnover ratio, 26% from three. You don't love that, but defends at a high level, rebounds at a high level. I that's if we're doing a word association game, I say defend at a high level, rebound at a high level. That's Kelvin Sampson. That's Houston
Mhm.
basketball.
Yeah, and to that point as well, I even think I could see it working at Nate Oates' scheme as well, just in terms of getting up and down and like getting this kid in the open court, so you're not having to rely on him right away to make decisions in the half court where you're seeing that assist to turnover ratio come to light. Kansas to me is the one fit where I'm like, I can't really remember the Jayhawks having a player like this, and I even wonder for his sake, like, do you worry? I don't think he's going to be a day one starter. like no shot at Kansas. Maybe with Houston because of the system and the pieces that Sampson might build around him, or put it like there's a pretty good track record there over the past couple of years of Houston's teams shooting really well as a team, and maybe he can make up for the lack of Alozier's floor spacing with other pieces that he brings in. To me, if he goes to Kansas, this feels like a guy who built self portals over his first summer and brings in multiple guards, and you're looking at an El Marco Jackson type situation where it's like, why was this kid who's a high 4 star just going to sit the bench for a year? I mean, granted, it's worked out for Kansas because they've kept Jackson in the system, and I know he dealt with the injury, I believe, a season ago, and maybe he starts to live up to that pedigree. But yeah, as I was looking at this list of these 3 visits, the Houston and the Alabama fit just make a lot more sense to me.
Yeah, it's like especially what I'm looking at because if I'm EK and I'm looking at like sorry I don't want to ruin that. If I'm looking at Houston, right? Or even if I'm Samson, like I'm trying to think because you could look at so it would be like this. I think this is where I'm at with it. It would be a Jamal Shed level like kind of development. Hopefully, is what you would want to see, but
Hmm.
just flip the rebounding and the assists. Like Jamal Shed was a guy who once he started playing minutes, he was 5 assists a game when once he started playing minutes. But he's a guy who never really shot that well from three. He wasn't even that great from the field necessarily, but he was a guy who was a leader, point of attack, a lead on defense, and
Hmm.
he was able to, I think, pass the ball at a high level. I think Lozier's, his bread and butter can be defensively and rebounding the ball from the point guard position, which I think could look really good. Surrounded by some really good players as well on the Houston basketball team with the way they're recruiting lately. I think that you'd be set yourself up for a good situation. I think I'm right by saying to wrap this video up, Riley. Are we surprised if he doesn't go to Houston at this point?
Ooh, it's a good question. It
Because
depends
I think that
on
I think that's us just advocating for Houston and his game style. But I mean, just with all due respect to him, he hasn't really gave any inkling. He's like not a.
right.
We don't have like he's a Texas area kid or anything like that to like lean on or like his connections with the school. It's basically just a complete playing style, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out Alabama with it just because how friendly for guards Oates' scheme is and his system. And even I think about someone like Jaden Bradley, who had a pretty good year at Alabama before ultimately moving on to Arizona, but similar question marks about the jumper, bulldog on defense. Although Bradley, I always thought like his IMG tape, he was an elite level passer, and I don't think Alozie is there yet. But you might look at some other guards like JD Davison as well, who I think JD Davison was like the G League most improved player this past year. So you can point to guys who have had a moderate success in Oates' system to where I wouldn't rule him out. I think with Houston, it ultimately comes down to what do you want to allot financially to get this kid, especially if you're still going to be pursuing Bryson Howard, who I believe will continue to just rise up the rankings in this class. And to me feels like just another guy who seems like he's tailor made for Kelvin Sampson because I don't know how much of a they're looking to build in a freshman class versus the portal, but yeah, I think if Houston wants him, they should be able to lock him down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see once the visits take place. Also, like, when he gets the other visits kind of on the calendar. But I'll be very interested to see where he ends up. Never count Kansas out because it's Kansas. Bama, like you said, is a good fit. Houston also a good fit as well. So it'll be one that I think we'll be watching closely. And, when we have updates, it will be here on the channel. Best believe you can find it here on Sleepers Media YouTube channel.